Two major events happened in our history thousands of years ago that formed us into a people. One of these was Yetzias Mitzrayim. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim with Oisais and Moifsim. He freed us, he liberated us. That's a very major event. And with Pesach coming, we're going to commemorate that event. The other event that happened, which was soon afterwards, was Matan Torah. That we came to Har Sinai, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the Torah, and he made a bris with us. These are the two events. And Pesach commemorates Yetzias Mitzrayim, and Shavuos commemorates Matan Torah. Now, these two events are very much related, and each one had a very important role. But the truth is that if the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted, he could have made Yetzias Mitzrayim without Matan Torah, or he could have made Matan Torah without Yetzias Mitzrayim. They could have been separate events. Of course, both events happened. But if only one event happened, which is the more important event? If you had to choose one event that happens, should we have Yetzias Mitzrayim without Matan Torah, or should we have Matan Torah without Yetzias Mitzrayim? Without question, Matan Torah. Matan Torah is who we are. We have the Torah Akdosh of the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have a bris of the Rebbeinu Shalom. That makes us Yidden. That's what Klal Yisrael is. Yetzias Mitzrayim without Matan Torah. So you would be liberated Goyim. Maybe nice Goyim, maybe not so nice Goyim, but we would just be Goyim. So really, what's most critical for us is Matan Torah. So there's a very puzzling phenomenon here with Matan Torah. In the Taryag mitzvahs of the Torah, there are 613 mitzvahs. Of these 613 mitzvahs, how many are connected to Yetzias Mitzrayim? I don't remember offhand how many. I think it's either 124 or 125. Some of them are directly related to Yetzias Mitzrayim. We talk about matzah, we talk about the Chametz, the Korban Pesach. There are many that are directly related to Yetzias Mitzrayim. And many are just have just a tangential connection. They're not so related to Yetzias Mitzrayim. After Misager, because ever the Yisaberes Mitzrayim. It's not, you're not allowed to eat shrotzim, because Anoich Hashem L'kecha Malcham Eretz Mitzrayim. So we mention Mitzrayim in relation to many, many mitzvahs, and some of them are actually about Yetzias Mitzrayim and some are not. But we're always talking about Yetzias Mitzrayim. How many mitzvahs relate to Matan Torah? Matan Torah is, is the most important thing. So how many mitzvahs relate to Matan Torah? One. There's one mitzvah that relates to Matan Torah. Yishomer L'cha, Yishmor Nafshech Moed, Pentishka, Chazan Vorim, Aroy Necha, B'chayrev. You should not, it's one of the schiras, you should remember Matan Torah. You should not forget Matan Torah. You shouldn't forget it. That's it. Nothing else. Shavuos, when the Torah talks about Shavuos, it says, L'man tizkar ki eved hayiso beres Mitzrayim. Every time, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. Everything, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. What happened to Matan Torah? The only time that we ever mention Matan Torah in our, in Yom Tov, we say Zman Matan Torah say no Shavuos. But the Torah doesn't even mention that it's connected to that. That's what we say. But if you look at everything that we say, all the Birchas Krishma and the davening, everything, we don't talk about Matan Torah. We talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Tilim, the Perek Ayin Ches, which talks about the history of Klal Yisrael, doesn't mention Matan Torah, it mentions Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's such a deafening silence about Matan Torah. Why do we never talk about Matan Torah? Why? So, I'd like to offer an explanation. Let's assume for a moment that there is a murderer. He's in prison. And he committed a murder, he was convicted, he was sent to prison. 10 years later, he asks to see the warden. And he says, listen, I read that the cells in the body change every 10 years. The cells die and now new cells are born. So I think every 7 or 10 years, the cells change. Even the cells in the decision-making part of the brain also change. Maybe there are a couple that don't, but just about every cell in the body changes. So right now, it's not me. I'm not the one who committed the murder. The one who committed the murder, I'm a completely new person. All of my cells are new. So is that an argument? No, it's not an argument. I once presented this question to a group of college students, and one of them was a law student. So when I asked this question, he says, I can work with that. Okay, he's going to be a good lawyer. But anyway, it's not, because the person is the same person. The aggregate, the whole person is the same. Cells come and cells go, but the person is the same. Whatever you did, your responsibility that you have, that remains. That doesn't go away because the cells change. If you take on an obligation, let's say you sign a contract, you take an obligation, then, for instance, the American Constitution. So we assume that all of Americans are subject to the Constitution. But who in today's America ever signed on to this Constitution? That was hundreds of years ago. Who signed on to the Constitution? But the society signed on to the Constitution. If the society signed on to it, then we are all cells in the society. But anything that society does as a collective, as a whole, that remains as long as that society is intact. If you take apart the society and destroy all its institutions and return it to individuals running around in the forest, okay, that may be different. But as long as the society is intact, then anything that society undertakes remains. Like, but our bris with the Rebbeinu Shalom, we're all bound by it. I know all the neshamas were there by Har Sinai, but that's not a simple thing. And they certainly weren't there in Shushan. When the Shushan, they were Makabal again. The neshamas didn't come down to Shushan. So what it means is that the neshama klolis, the collective neshama of Klal Yisrael, was there by Har Sinai, and it was there in Shushan. And whoever becomes part of this neshama klolis, let's say a ger becomes part of the neshama klolis of Klal Yisrael. So in that sense, he was in Shushan, he was a Har Sinai, in that sense. But every individual, the individual neshama certainly didn't come down to Shushan. Nothing ever says of that sort says. So the klal, the everything is all about the klal. So we have two identities. We are individuals, we have our own individual lives, but we're all part of a klal. And the klal is its own thing. The Gemara says in Tamura, Tezvav, I think, that when the Yidden came back from Bavel, they brought korbanos for the Avodah Zarah that was done before they went to Golus, which was 70 years before. So the Gemara says, Chatas shemeis ba'aleh, if you have a korban chatas and the owner of the chatas dies, so the korban is possible, it goes lamisa. So how could it be that we'll bring a korban now for something that happened 70 years ago when everybody was dead? Everybody was dead. So the Gemara says, Ein hatzibur mesim. The tzibur never dies. If it's a korban tzibur, that it never becomes the chatas shemeis ba'aleh, because the tzibur is always alive. Individuals come and go, but the tzibur remains. The tzibur is always there. So the cheta egel, that Klal Yisrael still pays for the cheta egel. Who today was there by the egel? But Klal Yisrael did that chet, and Klal Yisrael has to pay, and then as much as we are part of Klal Yisrael, we have to pay for the chet egel until it's paid up. I don't know when it'll be, hopefully soon. Now there's another thing about the Klal which I want to explain. In 1999, there was a war in the Balkans. There was, Yugoslavia fell apart. Yugoslavia was made of a number of countries. There was Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Kosovo. There was a couple more, but there was Kosovo. Now, as long as there was Yugoslavia and that confederation, and before that it was all under the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, then everybody had no choice. They had to get along. But once the lid came off, there was no more Ottoman Empire, no more Yugoslavia, then the Serbs and the Kosovars had a vicious war. The Serbs were coming to take revenge against the Kosovars. For the battle, they suffered a defeat in the Battle of Kosovo, and they were taking revenge on the Kosovars. In 1999, when did this war take place? When did this Battle of Kosovo take place? If you look it up, the Battle of Kosovo took place in 1389, I think it was. In 1389. So 600 years later, there's still such a retzicha, vengeance, this and that. You have to kill the people, let's kill them. Where's this coming from? Does this come because they read in the history book that there was a Battle of Kosovo in 1389, and therefore they feel really upset about that, and they want to go kill the Kosovars? Or no, they never forgot the hatred and the desire for revenge and the passion and anger was passed down from generation to generation in the mother's milk, and it was never ever forgotten. And now, when finally there was the opportunity, then it burst out, and there was massacres and everything. This is why, because a society has a memory. How is it passed down? In 1,000 different ways. But a society has a memory. The way you know something for sure, how do we know there was a Battle of Kosovo? Because it says in the history book? No. History books can lie. We know history books can lie. The victors write the history books, right? They can lie. But you know that there was a Battle of Kosovo because in 1999 people are still killing each other over that. How do we know that there was slavery in the United States? Maybe it was made up. Maybe it's a myth. It's not possible, because the whole social consciousness of the United States today, it's all about race. It's all about bigotry and reparations and resentment and prejudice. It's all about slavery. It's all about that. We know there was a slavery. We know there was a civil war. We know there was emancipation. We know there was a Lincoln, because we remember it. The klal of the the American klal, the American collective, remembers it. Do we remember George Washington? Maybe. Do we remember Columbus? Nobody in the world remembers Columbus today. He may be in all the history books, and you may have streets named after them and everything. Nobody remembers it. Nobody. Some people deny the Holocaust. Yeah, people can deny the Holocaust, but you can't deny the Holocaust to somebody that experienced it. Like, I was born after the Holocaust, but I grew up with Holocaust survivors around me. I shared their experience, so the Holocaust is very much part of my memory. It's not something that I read in a book or that my teacher told me, or it's not. It's something. Now, do people today remember it? Probably not, unless they have like old grandparents who tell them stories, which usually they don't. So, okay, but I'm just saying memory, collective memory. That is the only way you know something for sure. If something is written in a book, something is somewhere, you don't know for sure. The only evidence which cannot be disputed, is memory. Now, an individual has a memory. Yeah, it could be delusional, it could be he made a mistake, it could be he didn't understand what he saw. But if thousands of people have memory, then it is real. Then you know it's true. And it's proof not only for yourself, it's a proof for other people. The whole Torah, what the Torah does with Zeichel Tzias Mitzrayim, it's not just saying, just hanging up a plaque and saying Zeichel Tzias Mitzrayim. The Torah is doing something here that can make the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim last forever. We are not driven, Jewish people are not driven by the desire for vengeance. Jewish people don't dream about cutting the throats of Germans. We don't. It's over, we're finished, we survived. Leave us alone, let us have a nice peaceful life, let us make parnasa, let us bring up our children in a Jewish way, let us learn Torah, and we're okay. We're okay. We're not running after. So that passion for vengeance, we don't have that. And even if we do, I don't know how long that can go on. But what the Torah wanted to make sure that the memory is never forgotten. The memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim is never forgotten. So how does the Torah do that? By weaving it into every aspect of our lives. Everything that a Jewish person does, our whole life, it's all about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Everything we say, every mitzvah that we do, kemat, loads of mitzvahs, over 100 mitzvahs. Everything is about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Every day we make kiddush, and it's all about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Put on the film. Everything is, whatever we do, it's all about Yetzias Mitzrayim. We live Yetzias Mitzrayim every single day, so that's why we remember it. This is what the Torah did, and this is what Chazal do when they formulate the tefillas. They wanted to make sure that we remember it forever. That was the genius of the Torah and of Chazal, that by doing all this, and the main tziner, the main conduit of the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim is Pesach. The Yontif, all year, it's woven here, it's woven there, we do this and that. But Pesach is the tziner. Pesach, we bring the korban Pesach, we sit by the Seder, we drink the kaises, we eat the matzah, we tell the story, we have, Pesach is, that's why by Pesach, when you sit by the Seder, you have to see yourself as if you were there, because this is how you really make the memory sharper. As much as you put into that memory, as much religious passion, as much as you try to imagine it for yourself, all that makes the memory stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, by Pesach Sheni, in Parshas Ba'aloischa, so they came, the people were Tamei, they were either Tamei Meis, or Mes Mitzvah, or B'Yosef, they were Tamei, and they came to Moshe, and they said, Lama Nigora, we couldn't make a korban Pesach. So because they said Lama Nigora, they were Zoichet that the korban Pesach was given through them. But what is Lama Nigora? They were Potter. I said Mitzvah, Potter, and Mitzvah. What was their problem? Their problem was because they understood that the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim is reinforced all the time, every day that we live. And Pesach is the main reinforcement of that memory. So he said, okay, mitzvah her, mitzvah hin, mitzvah is mitzvah patna, mitzvah fine. But why should the memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim in our family be weaker than the memory in other families? Lama nigora, why are we worse? So therefore, because they understood that, and they appreciated the chashivas of Pesach, how important it is to consider memory, so therefore there was Zeichet to Pesach Sheni. So why don't we do Matan Torah? Let's do the same thing. Let's Matan Torah. Let's do it. Every single thing we do should be all about Matan Torah. That's not possible, because Matan Torah, the experience of Matan Torah was a nevuah. It was prophetic. All of Klal Yisrael, says in the Medrash, were Nevi'im, and they were able to see the Rayim is HaKoilos, and you saw the Livus HaSapir. The things that they saw at Matan Torah were things that a person does not see in normal life. There's no way to have a memory of that. If you were there, I don't know, maybe you could remember it. There's certainly no way of passing that memory down to the next generation, when those generations have no context for it. They have no way of imagining, of understanding, of relating to what you're telling them, because it was a prophecy, and we're not prophets, so how are we going to get that? So it is not possible to do that. It says the mitzvah of remembering Matan Torah, the mitzvah of remembering Matan Torah is Yisham al Chashmar Nafshcha. It's one of the 6 sechiras. Now all of them says Zachar, remember. This one says Yisham al Chashmar Nafshcha Oid. Make sure you don't forget it, because it's very hard to remember this. And the Bach says that we remember Matan Torah, but we make the Berachos HaTorah. And what do we remember? Remember that there was a fire. That's all we remember. There was a physical fire by Har Sinai. It wasn't that everything that he saw was all nevuah, but remember there was a fire. And if you look in the mitzvah, that there was a fire, the pasuk says, "V'har bayer ba'esh ad leiv hashamayim." The fire is going all the way up to the sky. The fire. But if you look in Parshas Yisro, what had actually happened, it doesn't say that. It just says that there was a fire. Because the fire was a very minimal part of the whole experience of Matan Torah. The Matan Torah was the Rebbeinu Shalom is talking to you. He's giving you Aseres HaDibros. You have Gilui Shechina. I mean, what's going on over there? This was unbelievable. And there was a fire, okay. But when it comes to remembering it, the only thing that you could hang your memory on is, like the Bach says, is the fire. So the Torah takes this very tiny detail of the experience and it enhances it for you, then tells you that that fire was all the way up Ad Leiv HaShamayim. That's what So now, how do we remember Matan Torah? How? There's only one way to remember Matan Torah. Together with Yetzias Mitzrayim. We tell Sphira, why? Because they tell Sphira when they were leaving Mitzrayim, they counted the days. And we tell Sphira, the Chinuch says, to commemorate that they were counting the days. They weren't doing a mitzvah of Sphira, they were counting in anticipation. Where were they going? They were all going, they're going to the Har, they're going to meet the Rebbeinu Shalom, to have an encounter, to get the Torah. So the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim was directed at Matan Torah. So we could remember Matan Torah because that's where we were going. So therefore, we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. Without remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim, it's not possible to remember Matan Torah. It's impossible. But if we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim, then our memory also extends to Matan Torah. Therefore, the whole effort that the Torah and Chazal put into memory was all put into Yetzias Mitzrayim. We don't talk about remembering Matan Torah because you really can't. So if we can just say Zeichel Matan Torah, then it's just going to muddy the waters. You're going to think it's just memorial plaques hanging up. You're not going to understand what you're doing over here. We're not talking about Matan Torah. You have to build your memory on Yetzias Mitzrayim. And when you build your memory on Yetzias Mitzrayim, then you remember Matan Torah. And then you know that Torah min HaShamayim, which is the yesod of our Yiddishkeit, the yesod of our Amunah, is that Torah min HaShamayim, that the Torah came from the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have to remember Matan Torah. That makes us Yidden, because we got the Torah from the Rebbeinu Shalom by Har Sinai. But we have to remember it. It has to be for sure. It has to be vadai for us. We have to know that this is actually what happened. How do we know this actually happened? Because we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. For sure, we have a vivid memory. I'm going to give you an example. The Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Do we remember that the Beis HaMikdash, how do we know the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed? Let's say somebody would tell us that it wasn't. There was never a Beis HaMikdash. What are you talking about? For 2,000 years we're fasting Tisha B'Av and we're breaking glasses under the chuppah and we're leaving patches on the wall. So that keeps the memory of the Beis HaMikdash alive. We daven for it all the time. We have the memory of the Beis HaMikdash is very much alive by us. It's not something that we saw in the Sefer. It's something that we live. And the footprint of the Beis HaMikdash, of Churban Beis HaMikdash, is much smaller in our lives than the footprint of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So 2,000 years ago was the Churban, and 3,000 years ago there was Yetzias Mitzrayim, and our memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim is much more vivid than our memory of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. And if we have a vivid memory of Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we're convinced that it happened because it's our life, that memory is our life, then we know that there was a Matan Torah, then we can be sure that Torah min Hashemayim, and then we could be Klal Yisrael. Thank you very much. Have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. Thank you.